If you listen to my podcast episode this week, I talked a lot about how to master setting your goals. And one of the things that I wanted to expand on in this video is really looking at the process when you set a goal. So, whenever you first get excited about a goal, you're really going to be driven, at least if you're anything like me, you're super driven by those feelings of motivation, right? Like there's something in life that you want and you're going to go after it. And so you have this really motivating view of how you're going to get at it. And that's fantastic. I think motivation can be one of the greatest things and tools that we have with us because it highlights whatever the desire is that you have. So you're like seeking this desire. But when you take a step back and you're looking at making sure that you have a process to follow through with your goal, that's when you're going to look at the habits and routines that you're keeping. So when you want something in life, no matter what that desired outcome is, and you've made a choice that like, this is my end goal, this is where I'm going to continue to place my focus, these are the things that I'm going to do, you really should also take a look at a couple different things, right? One is, how do you actually want to feel? So when you obtain this goal, what is the feeling that you're actually after? And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's wealth or whether you're seeking, a relationship, you want a certain job, you want to get into a school. What is the feeling that you're going after with this goal? And the reason why I recommend that you go back to that is because it's going to identify your why. And when you can start remembering in those moments that it's hard to stay on track, what that why is and what you want to return to, you've just set yourself up for a much better success rate because you're setting up the process. So really start to think about like, what is the feeling that I'm after? Is it being loved? Is it being desired? Is it being relaxed? Like whatever it is. And you don't have to try to force fake a feeling. It's just identifying what is it that I'm seeking? Because that feeling is what you're after, even regardless of the external event, right? Like, let's say that you wanted to get $10,000 and the feeling that you had was like being excited that you got this money and feeling that you could pay your bills. There's like a sense of relief. Well, if you got $20,000, you still would feel that. So even though you didn't have that exact amount, which I know this is a little extreme, because of course who's going to be upset about getting more money? That's not the point. The point is you're not getting that exact thing and you're still having the feeling though, that desired outcome feeling is still coming up for you. And that's why I always recommend that you start with like, if you were your ideal self, what would you start doing? What would you stop doing? And what are the ways that you want to feel when you go to bed? Because when you look at those types of feelings and the thing that you're actually after, you're able to kind of check yourself throughout the day. Like, am I actually focused on this end result? And when you have the goal solidified, you've decided what it is that you want. And if you need help with that, I've got actually like a little guide that I put together. I'll put a link down below in the notes or like the description of the YouTube video. And so if you want to get that guide, you definitely can. If not, just sit down with yourself and consider the ways that you want to feel. But the biggest part of having a goal is actually starting to work on the process. It is the process that changes your identity. Each moment of time that you make a difficult decision and you make a decision, especially one that's outside of your comfort zone, you're creating new pathways for yourself. You're creating a new identity. You're shifting into a different state because then you're showing up for yourself. So when you've decided on a goal, I want you to give yourself some sort of process that you're going to follow. This doesn't mean that it has to be that you're going to say, 100,000 times a day, some affirmation. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but if that's what you want to do, like it's completely up to you. But I would give yourself a process. What are the steps that you could take to show up for yourself as this person? If you're trying to become someone who is very loved and desired and feels overall good about themselves, the best thing you can do is show up for yourself more and do the things that you say you're going to. Like if you make a promise to yourself, you need to keep it. And when you really step back and look at the process that you're going to follow, each time you meet that process, you are creating an identity for yourself that says, I'm the type of person who does this. And the more that you can do that, the more you shift your identity, your state, the more you become this person. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're like, oh, I have my desired outcome. This came to me without that much focus or concern on my behalf, because I really paid attention to the process of being a person that I want to be. And again, that does not mean that you have to specifically go out of your way to try to like make something happen. Like you're not going to specifically go to a certain grocery store to try to run into a certain person. Like that's not what I'm talking about. But if you're somebody who is loved, how would you treat yourself in the morning? How would you treat yourself in the evening? How would you talk about yourself on your way into work? Those are all small things that you can look at that are part of your process. So the process that I always recommend and has worked for me and has worked for others that I've spoken with is to make sure that you're adding a daily joy to your day. Like actually start to pay attention to small things that bring you joy and ensure that you're doing those and paying attention to how you feel while you're doing them. The other one is to really honestly pick up a new hobby, start learning something, make sure that you're reading books, expand your mind. The whole key to this is to make sure that you're not sitting dwelling over how you don't have something or seeking ways that you can force it to come into your life. Instead, you're training yourself how to enjoy your life more, how to care for yourself more, and how to show up more so that you can become truly like a vibrational match for the thing that you're looking for. So remember, the process is all about saying, this is my goal. These are the things that I'm going to do to get there. A lot of times for me, that includes I want to spend 15 minutes a day meditating on, feeling as if I am that person now. I want to spend that time focused on it, but then the rest of my time of the day, I want to spend it doing things I enjoy. I want to learn something new. I want to read a book. I want to spend time outdoors. I want to take my dog on a walk. I want to work on a hobby, something along those lines, because that all raises your gratitude feelings in a very natural way, which is not falling into toxic positivity and denying the things around you. You're just really showing up for yourself. So I hope you found that helpful. If you haven't listened to the podcast episode, I would definitely go back and do that. I go into quite a bit more. It's a much longer episode, but this was to talk a little bit more again about the process once you have set a goal.